Yo, some shy guy? Did you hear that Square Enix is remaking Final Fantasy VI? Oh, wow! That's awesome! I gotta go check that out.
Alright, you know what? That's it! Square Enix, you royally fucked up this time!
You really want to know what the saddest thing about Square Enix is? They have massively gone downhill ever since Final Fantasy 13. Like, it is a travesty to play any of the Final Fantasy games after Final Fantasy X-2. Because, in my honest opinion, that was the last Final Fantasy game that was playable. Yes, the storyline in X-2 is cheesy enough, but at least it had good enough gameplay. However, even when Square Enix goes back and tries to remake its classics, everything they touch turns into complete shit.
Of course, though, I'm going to try and prove my point the best I can. For Final Fantasy IV The Complete Collection, Square Enix modified the difficulty to be extremely easy, which means that you can just breeze through the game without any sort of challenge. That and it has After Years, a sequel I could care less about. But really? What's the point in playing a game if you're going to win all the time? There's no point! Now this port of Chrono Trigger is actually pretty good, but unfortunately, its bonus content sucks. It has two of the worst bonus dungeons in the history of gaming. Oh, and to make matters even worse, the very first one that you have access to, you have to constantly backtrack over and over and over and over and over again. And I am not exaggerating it. This is how bad the first bonus dungeon is. But my point is that obviously when they try to add in new content, they managed to mess up Chrono Trigger. And that was an absolute fine game. Oh, but I am not done yet. Oh no. Final Fantasy 7 and 8 were released on Steam previously, which is actually a pretty cool thing, except Square Enix, paranoid that people are going to be pirating their older game, had to set up some shitty DRM protection. First of all, you have to be online in order to even play this game, and you need to set up an account. This problem didn't happen when Final Fantasy VII first came out, and this game is old. So what was the point in having this? Tell me, why? Why do we need to have this for older games? This is bullshit! This is absolute bullshit! You've gotta be kidding me with this. I know this has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, but what were they thinking with this costume idea for this god-awful third game that Final Fantasy 13 needed to have for God knows what reason? It's one thing to have a costume that's supposed to sexually appeal, but it's another thing to use cute characters for it. What were they thinking? And I'm not saying that to quote the nerd or the AVGN, I'm absolutely serious here. What were they thinking?
Hey, some shy guy! It's Darkside Phil! I'm the one that suggested Square Enix to make Final Fantasy IV The Complete Collection completely easy. I love it so much because it's easy. Yeah! Prepare to die, Darkside Phil.
Alright, now on to the main subject, the game itself, the very reason why I'm doing this. Square Enix has finally crossed the line. When they touch a game of mine, a game that I grew up with, then you have problems with me. Because, first off, the game is mobile, which means that not everyone is going to be able to access it. This whole mobile gaming fad needs to die, and it needs to stay dead when it happens. Really, I don't want to play a game and then constantly get interrupted by telemarketers while I'm playing. Like, that's just so stupid. Like, do I really want to touch Final Fantasy VI with shitty touch controls and probably a shitty control scheme as well? If you haven't noticed it by now, look at the sprites. They look bad compared to the tiles and other graphics of the game. Like, they just look so terrible. They look abysmal compared to everything else. It's like they were done with Microsoft Paint. And that's never really a good sign to begin with. Alright, I want you all to compare this to this. Okay. This actually looks like it fits very well compared to the first screenshot. Like, if you haven't noticed it, the graphics are abysmal. Man, back then I was really excited to see how Square Enix would remake Final Fantasy VI, but now those dreams are dead. You know, the thing is that at least we have the SNES version of the game, and at least it's accessible in many areas. Like, for example, the Virtual Console. But, man, when it comes to classics, Square Enix sure knows how to ruin them. And believe me, this is one version of the game you want to stray away from. At least, according to my own opinion. If you want to play this, go ahead, but I'm really disappointed by this. That's all.